Hello and welcome back to my shoe closet. This is That Crazy Straw Guy. We're going to be going over my Zombie World deck profile. This is basically a control spam build. Focuses specifically on cards like Bela Roach and Necro Dragon to make some controlling plays and then go for the OTK once your graveyard is stacked. Let's go right into the deck. I'm assuming that you know the bases of most of these cards. I'm not going to be going into their abilities in depth, just kind of grazing over them. First up, we have 2 copies of Doom King Bela Roach. Basically, this guy is in free negate if you have a Zombie World on the field. It negates zombies. It also can banish zombies, so if you have 2 of these on the field and your opponent uses an effect during the chain, you're able to negate the effect and also banish a card on the field and or graveyard. Really solid card. It also has a special summon effect during the standby phase if there is a field spell in either field zone. In order to get that guy out, we have Glow Plume. Basically, it's a free special summon of a level 5 or higher zombie monster from your deck if it's sent to the grave and you control Zombie World. If you don't, then you just add it to the hand, but either way it's a plus, and either way it locks you into zombies, which kind of sucks for your more complex plays, which includes things like Cyframe Lord, Omega, but hey, what you gonna do? It's really good, though, for getting out once you finish those combos. Next up, we have 2 Necroworld Banshee. If this card can banish itself in order to play Zombie World directly from your deck to the field spell zone. Its second effect, which enables you to protect Zombie World, isn't that useful because you'll mostly be pitching this to get out Zombie World. So it's basically, yeah. And then finally, Tassu Necro. I don't usually run this card. This is kind of like my just in case I brick card if you don't have a level 5 starter. If you have a Mizuki in hand, and this, basically you can make a level 7, but it locks you into zombies, which kind of sucks because the only level 7 zombie that I have is Necro Dragon, and during the early game, it is not that strong. It also gets rid of very important materials at that point because you're getting rid of Mizuki. And those are like the cards that are the staple, I guess. This is the pure zombie engine. Oh, I accidentally had these. Sorry. Here we're running 2 Ash Blossoms. I was not expecting these cards to be in front. I'm sorry. Basically, a hand trap to negate searches or special summons from the deck. Really solid. Pretty self-explanatory. I only run 2 of them because I feel as if 3 would be a big hassle, and I want my play starters rather than hand traps. We also have 2 Zombie Master. Zombie Master is a pretty solid card. Not a lot of people run him in most decks, but I feel as if he's solid for Swarm. You basically discard a card in hand, and then special summon, of course it's a monster, then special summon a zombie from your graveyard, which is pretty good for getting out the used zombie back and instantly making a level 7 Synchro. We have 3 Shiranui Solitaire. This synergizes well with the 3 Unizombies that I have in this deck. Basically, Shiranui tributes itself to special summon a tuner with 0 defense. Sorry. And guess what? Unizombie is a tuner with 0 defense. Basically, Unizombie is able to increase his level or other monsters' levels by 1 by either discarding a card in hand or sending a zombie from your deck to grave. So it can get up to level 5, which is pretty good, and synergizes well to send out your Gozuki and Mizuki. Speaking of which, we have 3 copies of Mizuki and 3 copies of Gozuki. Basically, Mizuki can revive zombies in your graveyard by banishing itself, and Gozuki can special summon from hand, or if it's on the field during the main phase, you're able to pitch a zombie monster from your deck to grave. So really, really solid combination here of cards. Now let's move this over so we can go right into the spells. I'm sorry, my lineup is a bit backwards, but we're going to deal with it. 2 Burial from a Different Dimension, returning all your banished cards. Zombies, of course. 2 Book of Life, an instant revive, and also a banish in your opponent's graveyard. 1 Foolish Burial, sorry if it's phasing out. Basically, enable you to start your plays if you have a initiated in your hand and you just want to send out a Mizuki to revive it later. And then we're running into the actual zombie cards that are in the structure deck. Zombie Necronize at 3, and then Zombie Power Struggle at 1. Necronize is really solid. Basically, it's a change of heart if there's a level 5 or higher zombie on the field. And Zombie Power Struggle can either increase or decrease the attack of a zombie monster by 1,000. So pretty solid if you want to decrease or increase a monster's attack on either side of the field. And they both have effects that enable themselves to be set back to the spell and trap card zone by returning one of your banished zombies. However, Necronize cannot be used the turn it's set, while Zombie Power Struggle can. So that's the difference of that. And then finally, 3 Zombie World. Obviously, this card is a really key part of the deck. It turns all of the cards in the field and grave into zombies, and also locks opponents out of tributing. This does not stop kaijus, but it does stop monarchs. It can be pretty annoying because it basically locks your opponent out. It's basically a floodgate, and it works well with the deck because it turns everything into zombies. Next up, we have Return of the Zombies. This card basically enables you to banish a zombie on the field, on either player's field, and then the owner of that card gets to special summon a zombie from their graveyard in defense position to replace it, basically. It also has the same setback by shuffling a banish effect as Necronize and Power Struggle. It's a really solid card for get removal, but then again, sometimes it can be pretty bricky if you don't drop the Zombie World. We also have one Metaverse to get out the Zombie World that I just talked about. Pretty solid card. You could, of course, run Terraforming over it, but I don't have Terraforming, so we're going to deal with Metaverse. We also have 3 Needlebug Nests. This basically mills the top of your deck, which is pretty self-explanatory because the zombies love to go to the graveyard. This is a pretty solid, mostly monster lineup in the main deck here. It's followed closely by spells, and then the smallest amount at only 5 traps in total. Moving on to the extra deck, I actually removed one of the 15 of the cards. There used to be Harbinger in this deck, but I feel as if he's not as good as he could be, so I moved him over to a different deck. We have 3 Red-Eye Zombie Necro Dragon. This guy basically is your big beat stick of the deck, gains 100 attack and defense for every single zombie on the field in grave. In either player's grave as well. So if you have Zombie World, since that turns everything on the field and grave to zombies, he can get some high numbers if your opponent stacks their grave. He can also has a revival effect when a zombie is destroyed by battle card effect in either player's grave, so that's pretty solid too. Next up, we have the main synchro monster you want to go into, Cyframe Lord Omega. This guy basically enables to make your opponent go minus by banishing itself and one card your opponent has in the hand at random. There's a reason this guy's limited, but he's still pretty good in this deck because he also returns some of your banished cards, and when he's destroyed during the standby phase, I believe it was standby or end, standby or end phase, he enables you to return one of the banished cards in either player's banished pile, and then return him back to the extra deck, so he's basically full recursion. We also have a pretty solid level 7, sorry if the glint's getting in the way, Clearwing Synchron Dragon. This guy's enabled you to get over some big guys if you don't have Bale Roach on the field, because he's able to negate or destroy big level 5 or highers, which is pretty good if you kind of break out. It would be really cool if you could summon Tasu Necro, but Tasu Necro locks you into zombies when you're resolving his effect, so you can't go into him. But I really think he's solid in the deck. Not exactly the best card to add in, but hey, he's something. Then we have a pretty questionable idea, 2 Beazle of the Diabolic Dragons. This guy's a big level 8 that can't be destroyed by battle card effects, and also he gains a difference whenever he loses a battle. Of course, he can't be destroyed by battle and card effects, which is pretty self-explanatory. A big 3000 beater that can get even bigger if your opponent has a bigger monster. Not exactly the best tech choice, but it is a good finisher in some ways, or a big rock for your opponent to deal with. Next up, to the extra deck monsters, we have 1 Silent Anarch and 1 Douglas the Timeless. Anarch is pretty self-explanatory. You run a lot of level 4s, you're able to suck in one of your opponent's cards and then, remove it from the field. And then Douglas the Timeless can either make you go +2 and discard 1, or he can also increase the attack of one of your monsters in order to go to the OTK, or extend your plays by special summoning from the graveyard. Of course, there are costs to that, but they're pretty hefty in the text department. Moving on to the Link monsters, Avenged Savior, pretty self-explanatory. Whenever it battles, it can pitch a zombie monster, and then the monster that it's battling loses attack and defense equal to that monster's level. So if you send a Bale Roach, your opponent will be losing a total of 800 attack. This should be really good for chopping off some of your opponent's bigger monsters. It's also just 2 links, so you can get out multiple synchros, which is pretty good. Then we have Security Dragon to co-link into that Avenged Savior to bounce a card. That's pretty solid, so I decided to add it in the deck. You, of course, could add in different things. I've seen other people run Sucker, and it's really good, but I don't have Sucker, unfortunately. Didn't get access to him. Borlo Dragon, obvious, because you're running a lot of monsters, and eventually you'll be having at least 4 on the field. Just get this guy out and start to remove all the cards, or, steal all the cards your opponent has. Of course, actually, as well, they're all zombies, so that means you'll be able to use them for synchros or links, or link plays or such. Underclock Taker to get all of those big cards, and a pretty interesting tech choice, Barricade Board Blocker. This guy is enable you to discard and then add back a field spell from the graveyard. He also protects any spells face up on the field, so it's good for protecting your field spell just to get him out. He also is a free link, so pretty solid. Overall, I think this deck performs pretty well against most rogue decks. Of course, it's not tier 0 or anything, but overall, I feel as if I did a pretty good job building. This is one of my first decks I've ever built, actually, so I think I did a pretty good job. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to this video, and check out some of my other stuff. I'll be uploading some more Yu-Gi-Oh stuff in the future, so make sure to check that out. This is That Crazy Straw Guy, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.